Back in the 2000s, Activision would partner up with the hunting and fishing store Cabela's to create 2 series of games that centered around hunting. The first, Big Game Hunter, would be more like your typical hunting experience, albeit with a lot more of either stories being told by the hunter's perspective or competition-based / reality TV-based stories. These set of games were much more tame in comparison to most on-rail shooting hunting games that came out in the past. However, the Big Game Hunter series would still have some dark or horrifying moments in this series where the player gets jump scared by a grizzly bear while climbing up a cliff, fighting nature's most deadly predators on foot as bosses, especially when it was 3 leopards trying to kill the player at the same time. And even later on in 2012, one hunter gets his leg broken from his ground stand falling off a cliff, and another actually gets mauled by a pride of lions later in that game. However, these are nothing when compared to Cabela's second series of games, The Dangerous Hunts. Now, the Dangerous Hunt series started pretty tame at first, much like Big Game Hunter. However, this was only for the first game. Dangerous Hunts 2 ramps it up to what the series was going to be, which was an action survival horror series where animals seem to have gone mad and start hunting humans down. The second game even introduced cryptid animals, including Hogzilla and the Yeti into the series, which will be relevant later. Dangerous Hunts 2009, or Dangerous Adventures, is a mix of both of the first 2 Dangerous Hunts games so far, which, that's alright. The game introduces the hunter's sensibility, which allows the hunter to see tracks and hidden animals in the world. So what? Do all hunters have superpowers now? Why don't I have these powers when I'm a hunter myself? America Explain! 2009 also introduced us to QTEs, which were only used during the log bridge, walking parts of the game, as well as close-up melee moments of the game. Needless to say, these games so far were just simple and, albeit realistic, hunting games for dangerous animals. However, all of this would change with the 4th game of the series, and probably, objectively speaking, the best Dangerous Hunts game, 2011. Let's talk about the main reasons why this game is considered the best in this series. It first introduced the Top Shot Elite, which was essentially a controller but a gun, which is still by far the coolest controller I have ever seen made for a game. The graphics for the game are made a whole lot better than 2009's, and the game even has the typical on-rail shooting galleries players can expect from hunting games. However, what sets this game apart from its peers is the story. Now, don't get me wrong here, this is not the first story campaign done in this series, but when you compare it to Dangerous Hunts 2's finding your lost partner and killing the creature that took his life, and 2009's hunting dangerous animals around the world, only to circle back and kill the Russian bear that killed the hunter in the beginning level of the game, these 2 stories seem tame by comparison to the darker direction 2011 takes. Heck, even 2013, the last game in the Dangerous Hunt series, tried to repeat 2011's story, but failed to see what made 2011 so dark and mysterious to begin with. Now, if you want me to cover the rest of the Dangerous Hunt stories, feel free to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel to not miss out on it. Shameless plug. Getting off topic a bit, Dangerous Hunts 2011 came out on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, and for the first and last time in this series, on the Nintendo DS. Now, from comments I have seen, apparently there is more story found within the DS version of the game, but I won't be covering it since, from first-hand experience, the gameplay sucks. And almost everyone on YouTube stops playing once they reach the cabin level of the game. So if anybody is willing to record the footage from the DS version of that game that goes beyond that level, feel free to let me know about it. And I might cover it later on in another video. But anyways, the story I will be covering is from the other versions of the game, so expect major spoilers ahead if you don't want to play the game unspoiled. And we'll just get straight into this. Now, keep in mind, for this video in particular, I'm going to be putting the events of the story into full-on chronological order instead of the game's somewhat chronological story and having the past bits be explained later on in the game. I'm putting the later bits first and, you know, making sure everything is, like, full-on start of the timeline to the end of the timeline, if you get what I mean.
Open your eyes, son. This land is in our blood.
I had no idea what was waiting for us in those cold woods. No idea that my life was about to change forever. My father and I hardly spoke. After 10 years, we would hunt together again. Not for sport this time, but for redemption.
So the story starts in 1982 in Uganda, where a governmental covert research project is being done, which is called the Nightfall program. This program, as Rainsford would state it,
they say they're here to study animal behavior modification, breeding, training, chemical conditioning. They're making monsters, living weapons on a leash.
Now, of course, in the real world, there was no such thing as a Nightfall program that happened in Uganda. However, funny enough, the Nightfall program does come up in Call of Duty Ghosts, which is almost a one-for-one story as the program is in Dangerous Hunts 2011. So, does that mean that COD is in the same universe as Dangerous Hunts? If that's the case, then this joke is so much funnier than when you actually think about it.
Call of Duty? Is that where you hunt humans?
Anyways, the program enlists several professional hunters to collect various different rare animals for study, as they got Sampson Rainsford, an Alaskan native who spent his life hunting big game all around the world and owning a huge lodge in Uganda near the program's base, as well as Mbeki, a Ugandan native who's been hunting in Africa ever since he was a young boy, and was good friends with Sampson to go and capture what the locals refer to as the Kaftar. Now, believe it or not, the Kaftar is based on an actual cryptid. The Kaftar, in short, was essentially a shifter that would transform themselves into a hyena, which is very similar to a werewolf. So, you know how werewolves turn into wolves? The Kaftar just turns into a hyena. That's basically the same logic. The creature was originally found in New Delhi, where a woman would transform into a striped hyena and would kill men by stealing their hearts with some sort of invisible, unknown magic. The Kaftar then would make its way into Africa as were-hyenas, where they would be blacksmiths or healers in their villages by day, but at night would steal from graves, terrorize and cannibalize people, especially lovers, mesmerize victims with their eyes, and even after the end of a battle would suck the blood of dying soldiers, similar to a vampire. So yeah, think of a were-hyena as basically the mix of a werewolf and a vampire together. That's fucking terrifying when you think about it. All of this is made apparent even from the journals done by the warden, in which, yes, he does sound like Mbeki because both characters are done by the same voice actor, but I can attest that these are two separate characters based on later journals by the Warden in later levels of the game. But anyways, the Warden then states that
Today, I stopped the villagers from attacking a woman. They said the woman was a witch, and that she had summoned a dark creature called the Kaftar to prey upon them.
However, what differs from this creature from its usual nature is that the villagers believe it to be a demonic creature that has the ability to control other animals around it. The creature seems to have lived for thousands of years based on cave paintings in its lair, and that the only way to truly kill it was to burn the creature. So Sampson, Mbeki, and another hunter that Mbeki was very good friends with went out to capture the Kaftar in its lair. The creature under the blanket of darkness attacks Sampson when Mbeki tranquilizes the creature. The Kaftar was able to be captured, however, Sampson received very nasty scars from the creature, and Mbeki's friend, who ran away from the creature when Sampson was getting attacked, gets killed before the Kaftar is fully knocked out. Once the Kaftar was taken out of its lair, Dr. Albert and another unnamed scientist from the program begin to work on studying the Kaftar, which they call Crocera cryptidae, which, funny enough, is the scientific word for hyena cryptid. That's fucking funny as shit. And they studied the Kaftar's ability to control animals around it. The program was then able to perfect the Kaftar's ability to commanding animals by creating some strange red whistle that gives this ominously creepy sound to it. However, once the whistle was then created, the Kaftar was able to escape, and Rainsford puts it as
The program went off the rails. The research staff lost control. People started dying. They called in soldiers, but it was already too late. Becky and I are pulling out tonight. We won't be coming back.
Seeing that the project completely failed, Dr. Albert, in order to correct his mistake, asked for all of the project's research to be burned, destroyed. However, the unnamed colleague had other plans, as he stated in basically the final journal entry of the entire game.
I can't bear the thought of all of our work being erased. I've arranged for one of the hunters, an American named Rainsford, to smuggle some of my files out of the country. With that data, I should be able to resurrect the program at a later date.
Now, this is where the story gets a bit lost to us before we play through the rest of the events of the game. So, at some point, Rainsford and this unnamed scientist from the program seem to work together back in Alaska, where it seems like the scientist was able to create a new species based on his findings in that of the large black wolves with red eyes. Now, I have previously asked this question as to what the hell they could be, while getting mixed results from that. However, through doing some extensive research, I believe to have found the creature that these wolves are based on. Now, this is not exactly what they are in the game, but seeing how the Kaftar does have some differences based on its cryptid counterpart, the wolves are based on the Keeloot. The Keeloot, in short, was an evil spirit that took the form of a large, hairless black dog, with the only furry part about this cryptid is, its feet. It has fur only on its feet, but everywhere else it's hairless. But the creature would stalk lonely travelers in cold winter nights before killing them. It's said that they are related to Black Shuck of England, so yeah, they're basically a hellhound, if you will, in that the Keeloot leaves no tracks in the snow, and that people who see it will associate it as an omen of death. Even the sight of a Keeloot would cause the witness to become disoriented with prolonged exposure, causing hypothermia and death. Now, despite these wolves being very furry, the other abilities of the key loot make sense here, considering when the player character of the story, Cole Rainsford, gets attacked by one, his vision becomes very disoriented and blurry, as well as the cold winter night setting where the creature is said to hunt it. Now, these key loots seem to be able to be controlled by the whistles from the program, and so to thank Rainsford for helping him out in continuing his work, the unnamed scientist basically just gives him the whistle over. Then in 2001, the night before the events of the game, a group of hikers decide to camp out in Rainsford's woods. The group at first seems to like the untouched nature of the forest, but they slowly realize that something sounding like wolves keeps getting closer to their campsite. The unnamed hiker even writes that,
We heard a new sound last night. A strange, high-pitched noise like a whistle. I'm starting to wonder if we're alone out here.
and that even at one point,
The wolves came into our camp last night. I could hear them whining and growling right outside my tent. This place isn't safe anymore. We've decided to break camp at first light.
after the unnamed hiker writes this part of the journal, it seems as if a grizzly bear then shows up and mauls everyone except for the unnamed hiker. His final journal entry leaves this very disturbing ending to it, as he writes,
I've lost everyone. It's dark, and I have no idea where I am. I should have stayed behind to help the others, but when I heard the screams, I panicked. I keep hearing that whistle. Someone must be nearby. Maybe they'll help me. I need to get back to the camp and find my friends.
As it was stated in the last two entries of the hiker's journal, and from what we can gather from what we already know, it is implied that the key loot wandered around the camp before the bear came and killed the hikers. One of the hikers managed to escape, but it was clear that the key loot managed to kill him due to being associated with the whistling sound, and that the hiker was alone in his final entry. Now, huge side note here, after listening to these journals and watching the game's cutscenes like multiple times, I slowly realized while making this video that Sampson Rainsford might have been a psychopath.
What?
Now, I'm not about to diagnose a fictional character with a reason why they do some actions within the story, much like how people think that Dutch Vanderland having a concussion is the biggest reason why his personality changes in Red Dead 2. But given what the events of Dangerous Hunts 2011 gives us, and for what I'm about to tell you in the rest of the story, you might think the same way I do. And I guess I'll try to explain myself even better towards the end of this video.
It had been years since I'd last set foot on my family's land. My father was never an easy man to get along with, but I knew how much this hunt meant to him. I had no idea what was waiting for us in those cold woods. No idea that my life was about to change forever.
Now, we're up to date with the events of the game with the game itself. Sampson Rainsford, as well as his two sons, Cole and Adrian, go out in the morning for Cole's first hunt as a rite of passage. Cole manages to take down an elk, which his father tracked the night before. As the family were about to take the elk back to the lodge, a cougar attacks Sampson as Cole shoots at the cat, wounding it. Sampson, after scolding at his son for not killing the cat, tells Cole to track down and hunt the cougar, in which Cole was able to kill the cat. The family then notices smoke nearby. As Sampson believes them to be poachers, they circle around the campsite, where they find everyone dead. Adrian believes that the cougar that they just killed did this, but his father immediately cuts him off and states,
No mountain lion did this. Fire's still warm. No more than 12 hours. Looks like hikers. 3 men and a woman. They must have been lost. They're probably still here, sleeping off the meal.
Adrian then, obviously asks, what could have done this, as Sampson would then tell him, you tell me. And the family spreads out and looks for any tracks. Cole then is able to find some grizzly tracks that are near the campsite, and to his father's surprise, As Adrian then goes like, wait a minute, what? Like, questions his own dad about this reaction as Sampson then responds like,
Nothing. It's just not what I expected.
Adrian then boldly decides that they need to all hunt this grizzly bear together before it kills somebody else. As Cole at first kind of disagrees with his brother's decision on this, but after some "don't you ever come back" words from his dad, Cole then joins up with the rest of the family to hunt the bear. After Adrian spots it on the top of a mountain, he fires a shot, despite his father's advice to hold his fire. Then, as a Nearer to Dangerous Hunt 2009, funny enough, an avalanche falls on the group as Cole is separated from his father and brother. That night, Cole finally awakens from being passed out and makes his way towards the location of the bear. On the way, a wolf ambushes him, and he falls into what appears to be an abandoned church in the middle of the woods, which is never explained. It's just never explained why there's a church there. Nothing. Nothing in the game like hints to this church. Just nothing. I have some theories about this church, but I don't think there's any explanation as to why there's just a random abandoned church in the middle of these woods. But anyways, after killing off the wolf pack, he continues on his way, where he then sees the bear being attacked by another pack of wolves. Eventually, towards the end of the bear's trail, a Kilu, along with a pack of wolves, attack Cole. However, as soon as the Kilu is about to end Cole's life, a strange whistle sound could be heard, as the Kilu and his wolf pack kind of retreats. The bear then shows up and attacks Cole into its den. After managing to kill the bear off, Adrian then shows up to his brother, and he says that he watched the whole thing and tried to help, but he couldn't get a good shot in. Adrian then gets concerned with his brother's condition, quoting,
"You look like you're about to have a stroke, man."
And telling his brother that he hasn't seen his dad ever since the avalanche. The pair then hear the strange whistle noise, and as soon as they go, like, what is that? A whole pack of Kilus then immediately attack them and just immediately kill Adrian right on the spot. As Cole then blacks out. Now again, this is where there is a huge gap in what happens in the story. After Sampson gets Cole and, unfortunately, Adrian's dead body out of the woods, they both never forgave each other or themselves for Adrian's death. For the next 10 years, neither of them interacted with each other. Cole would follow in his father's footsteps and become a professional hunter himself, while Sampson would retire and live out in his lodge in Uganda. It was then where the Kaftar would finally reappear after 29 years of hiding and going after villages across Uganda. At first, a zoological team was sent out there to determine what the problem was, as the unnamed zoologist explains.
Dr. Bauer and I have not yet been able to identify the predator species responsible for the recent attacks. The physical evidence is sketchy at best, and the few eyewitness accounts we've heard stretch the limits of credibility. Dr. Bauer is not prepared to rule out the possibility that a pride of lions are responsible for the recent attacks. However, the invasion of inhabited homes suggests a level of habituation rarely found among big cats.
After the zoological team states that it's a pride of lions attacking these villages, Mbeki and Sampson they don't buy this shit. They don't think this is the right answer. As more and more attacks occur, the unnamed warden then states that
The local villagers are on the verge of rioting. They say that if the government cannot protect them, then they will protect themselves. I fear what will happen if these beasts are not found soon.
after protecting a woman from being killed by what the villagers claim to have seen her call upon the Kaftar to hunt them, the warden then remembers stories that his grandfather told him about the beast. That night, he states that
Last night I saw these creatures with mine own eyes.
They came from the savannah like shadows in the dark. Before I could fire, I heard a strange whistling sound and the beasts fled as one. The villagers are right. Evil forces are at work here.
As the warden realized he needed more help, he asked Sampson Rainsford, who didn't live far from there, to help hunt the Kaftar. He agrees to go hunt it down after telling the warden that he had hunted this creature before. Sampson then goes off to find Mbeki, who also agrees to go after the beast again. The unnamed warden, on the other hand, falls to the other villagers' panicked state, with his final journal entry stating that,
I gathered the village men and told them to bring their trucks to the petrol station. The destruction will be terrible, but we have no choice. We must act now, before we are all dead.
However, much like the other villages that we see do this as well later on in the story, these attempts also fail to kill the Kaftar. So then Sampson decides that it's finally time for his son to come join him on this hunt, with Cole agreeing to join as he feels that it's
not for sport this time, but for redemption.
However, before Cole could make it to Uganda, Sampson orders Mbeki, should they ever get separated, that he bring Cole to the cave where the Kaftar lives so that the Cole can hunt the beast down. Once again, back into the game itself, Sampson basically explains what I have already gone through to his son, with one exception, as Sampson tells Cole,
Make no mistake, son. These beasts we're hunting are pure evil. I know what you're thinking. Words like good and evil have no place in the natural world. You'd be right about that. There ain't nothing natural about these.
As the group gets separated by a hippo attacking the boat, Cole makes it through the river delta to find his father's boat. There, his father calls out on the radio that he washed ashore 10 clicks downriver from the boat, and that he will be making his way to his hunting lodge. He then instructs his son to go find Mbeki as he's waiting for Cole. Making it to the grasslands, Mbeki spots Cole from the mountains and instructs Cole to be very careful when moving through the tall grass, and gives instructions as to how to get to him. After reaching to Mbeki's position, Mbeki then tells Cole about the Kaftar and why the villagers are burning the savannah to kill it. However, Cole doesn't believe in the supernatural, which, oh boy, if you can't explain why big black wolves just suddenly killed your brother while you were blurry, there might be problems there. But anyways, however, Mbeki tells him that the Kaftar is only killing for the fun of it rather than substance. As Mbeki goes philosophical, if you will, a leopard attacks him, which Cole kills the leopard before it could make the killing blow. Mbeki, after receiving a nasty bite from the leopard, says that he can barely walk and that Cole should leave him behind. Cole, on the other hand, finds medical supplies and a truck from a pair of poachers and takes them to Mbeki. Mbeki, after seeing the poachers following behind them, tells Cole to get into the back to protect the truck. As Mbeki drives throughout the savannah, Cole protects the truck from the poachers and from herds of scared buffalo. Once they escape from the poachers and the buffalo, a rhino attacks the truck and sends both the truck and Cole flying into a wrecked building.
The rhino hit like a runaway train. 2,000 pounds of bone and armored muscle. The raging flames had driven the beast mad. I knew nothing short of my own death would quench the fury in the rhino's heart.
After Cole has no choice but to kill the rhino, Mbeki then thanks Cole for saving his life. He then mentions his long-lost friend, who Cole shared many similarities to him, as Mbeki, realizing the mistake of taking Cole to his father, knocks Cole out and leaves him behind. After waking up, Cole follows Mbeki's trail to the now abandoned military base, where, after they both stop a pride of lions from killing them, Mbeki lets Cole into the fort. Mbeki then tells Cole that this is where he met his father all those years ago, and that Cole needs to look into the base to see the truth. However, after listening to the horrors about the Nightfall program, Mbeki then gets attacked and nearly killed by a troop of baboons, while Cole saves him, much like Mbeki did the night before. Mbeki then reveals to Cole, after Cole is not satisfied from what he found, that after Cole saved his life, he decided that he should kill the Captar himself, and that the evil of the Captar lives inside Sampson, with the only cure to it being the death of the creature. Mbeki then dies, leaving the key to the cave system to Cole as he storms off into the cave to find his father. Once Cole gets closer to his father, he tells him over the radio that he believed that the wrong son had died that night in 2001, only due to Cole at the time being very inexperienced in hunting compared to his younger brother, which, wow, that's really shitty. That's a really shitty dad move, to just tell your one and only living son that, yeah, I thought, your younger brother was the better you. Which, it's kind of sad. Once Cole makes it to the Captar's lair, Sampson reveals to Cole how wrong he has been about Cole's abilities, and that Mbeki even told him that he lost his mind over his plan of letting his son hunt the beast that he couldn't kill himself. However, at the last moment, Sampson has a change of heart and helps Cole get out after he tells him that he can't bear to watch another son die. As Sampson tells Cole that he has nightmares about Adrian's death and that he is proud of his son for becoming the man that he is, Sampson accidentally steps on a landmine, with his final words telling Cole that the Captar is very real, and that after it's done with him, that it will come for his son. Cole once again hears the strange whistle as he makes his escape to his father's lodge, with him even seeing the whistle for himself. After entering the burning lodge, Cole then sees the Captar jump into the fiery lodge with him, as Cole puts an end to the beast once and for all. After trapping the Captar under a chandelier in the burning lodge, Cole escapes from the building. However, before he does, he turns around to see a photo of their whole family with the elk that Cole killed back in 2001. As the building collapses around him, the photo covers Cole and Sampson as Cole sees Adrian through the photo as the fire rages on. And that's basically the entire story of Dangerous Hunts 2011. It's definitely pretty fucking dark. And to be honest, this is the main reason why this game probably scared everyone out of their mind once it came out, and why, objectively speaking, it's the best in the series. Now, this is literally just up for interpretation as to, like, and there's just so many plot holes in this story, like, then where the fuck did the Captar come from? What other creatures, or where was the unnamed scientist going to after the program failed and killed the Keyloots? What the fuck? Like, there's so many what the fuck happened explanations that don't get explained very well. But this is definitely me trying to explain a lot of the story. And overall, this story's not too bad. It's pretty fucking terrifying when you really think about it. And this is probably why so many people love and cherish this game in particular. But yeah, that's really about it, other than what I'm going to go into now, which is Sampson might be a psychopath. Now, hear me out on this. Sampson, back in 2001, is out the night before, right? And only because, when they go to the camp, he says the fire's been out for no more than 12 hours. Which means it's the same night that this bear attacked the camp. And so if Sampson was out there that same night, right, then how come he's surprised when the thing that killed the campers was a bear? He's actually shocked by that. It's like he almost knew what the answer was. Also, the fact that Adrian just so happens to lose his dad after the avalanche, doesn't find him, and even towards the end of the game, like, he even confesses, like, I can't bear to watch another son die, hinting at the fact that Sampson intentionally tried to get one of his sons killed. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then not only that, but his entire Uganda spiel, like the whole Cole going to Uganda, is for literally him to go after the beast that, like, Sampson could not kill all those years ago. It's like, what? What the shit? And Sampson, like, almost, like, at the last minute is like, yeah, there's no fucking way he's gonna do this. Like, what? What? What the fuck? So you can't tell me that at the very least, Sampson might be a psychopath due to him being, helping out an evil scientist. Let's be for real. He helped out an evil scientist continue his work. Evil scientist gives him the whistle to control said creatures. He uses the key loots to kill anybody on his property, and intentionally uses the whistle to kill one of his own sons, with then his later plan of when the Kaftar re-emerge, he's like, you know what, my other son could probably kill it. With the intention of hopefully he can do it, only for him to, at the last minute, go, okay, yeah, you really cannot fucking do this. It's only when Cole gets to the cave that he switches it. Like, even the warden, like, hears this whistling noise in the night, which probably means that Sampson was intentionally sending the Kaftar to go kill people. Like, and then I'm, like, thinking, like, what the fuck is the goal? What is your goal? If it's not to kill everybody off, which is crazy to me. This story is absolutely insane for the wrong reasons. Because it's, like, literally the main driving point of this story is Sampson, the dad, in the whole game. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not about to, like, tell you that he's a psychopath, but at the same time, the evidence is pretty damn clear. Especially after I told you the entire story. But yeah, that's, like, literally my unhinged theory about Sampson actually being a freaking murderer. Holy shit. But yeah, guys, that's really the end, of Dangerous Hunts 2011. And if, again, you guys are interested in me telling you the other 4 stories of this series, you know, let me know down in the comments down below. And, you know, subscribe to the channel to keep up with the Dangerous Hunts series. And until next time, guys, I am the DM.